Give me a lawyer, dog apparently refers to some strange animal only found in Louisiana that has 4 legs, wags its tail, and has a law degree. What's in the news with stories on prostitution, a Catalonia update, my October contest winners, a Nurse Wubbles update, Trump's Twitter, DUI on a horse, and free market versus government. Also an ANCAP app segment with updates on Open Bazaar and Signal, and a Burning Book segment on Chasing the Scream by Johann Hari. This episode is brought to you by Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom, helping you to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before for just 24 cents a day.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the state where a whopping 96% of all employers are small business owners, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Revolution needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at the Lava Flow Pod. This is episode 74, Lawyer Dog, and it's Tuesday, November 7th, 2017, when there have already been more than 1,013 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at $20,458,365 million in debt. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. In one of the most egregious examples of justice being denied that I have ever seen, this one really rustles my jimmies. The courts in Louisiana have shown utter disregard for reason, logic, rationality, and even common sense in the case of Warren Demesme, who was 22 at the time of his arrest. Demesme was being interrogated by New Orleans police in October of 2015 after 2 young girls claimed that he had sexually assaulted them. It was the second time that he'd been brought in, and he was getting a little bit frustrated, court records show. He had repeatedly denied the crime. Finally, Demesme told the detectives, quote, "This is how I feel. If y'all think that I did it, I know that I didn't do it. So why don't you just give me a lawyer, dog? Because this is not what's up." End quote. Sometime after this, Demesme made admissions to the crime, prosecutors said, and was charged with aggravated rape and indecent behavior with a juvenile. He is being held in the Orleans Parish jail awaiting trial. The punctuation and spelling, arguably critical to Demesme's use of the nickname Dog, was provided by the Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office in a brief and then adopted by Louisiana Associate Supreme Court Justice Scott J. Crichton. The sentence in question is officially in the brief as, quote, "Give me my lawyer dog," end quote, with no comma between the words lawyer and dog and with the word dog spelled as D-O-G. Now, as you're all no doubt aware, many people in the world use the colloquial term dog as slang for homie. It's generally spelled D-A-W-G, and it's a pretty common word used in urban areas of the country. This is very common knowledge, and I think that you'd be very hard-pressed to find someone who isn't aware of this term. However, apparently the entire police department and district attorney's office of Orleans Parish and the judiciary of the state of Louisiana is ignorant of this term. The public defender for Orleans Parish, Derwin D. Bunton, took on Demesme's case and filed a motion to suppress Demesme's statement. In a court brief, Bunton noted that police are legally bound to stop questioning anyone who asks for an attorney. Quote, "Under increased interrogative pressure, Mr. Demesme invoked his right to an attorney, stating with emotion and frustration, 'Just give me a lawyer,' said Burton. The police did not stop their questioning, Burton argued, when Mr. Demesme unequivocally and unambiguously asserted his right to counsel. And this is where shit goes crazy. Orleans Parish Assistant District Attorney Kyle Daly responded in his brief that Demesme's, quote, "reference to a lawyer did not constitute an unambiguous invocation of his right to counsel because the defendant communicated that whether he actually wanted a lawyer was dependent on the subjective beliefs of the officers," end quote. Daly also said, quote, "A reasonable officer under the circumstances would have understood, as the detectives did, that the defendant only might be invoking his right to counsel." Bullshit. Burton's motion to throw out Demesme's statement was rejected by the trial court and the appeals court, so he took it all the way to the state Supreme Court. Crichton noted that Louisiana case law has ruled that, quote, "if a suspect makes a reference to an attorney that is ambiguous or equivocal, the cessation of questioning is not required." Crichton then concluded, quote, "In my view, the defendant's ambiguous and equivocal reference to a lawyer dog does not constitute an invocation of counsel that warrants termination of the interview." I kid you not. Crichton's argument relies specifically on the ambiguity of what a, quote, lawyer dog might actually mean. And this alleged ambiguity is attributable entirely to the lack of a comma between lawyer and dog in the transcript. As such, the ambiguity is not the suspects, but the court's, and it requires willful fucking ignorance to maintain it. Clearly, they knew this guy was not asking for a dog who happens to be an attorney. He was asking for a fucking lawyer, and they ignored his request illegally, and now they're trying to cover their tracks. Every single person involved in this case, from the police interrogators to the state Supreme Court justices, are criminals. They have broken their own laws for convenience to put a man behind bars illegally, to protect themselves. They've broken their oaths of office, and they have perverted justice in one of the most disgusting manners that I've ever seen, and I've seen a fucking lot. Every single person involved in this perversion of rights should be behind bars, or at the very least, lose their ability to ever be involved in the so-called justice arena of government ever again. I hope Demesme takes this one all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Not because I think that they will rule any differently, but because I believe that they will uphold this bastardization of justice and lay bare the truth that lies underneath their robes. That truth is that these are not positions of justice, but positions of power and authoritarianism. Dog. Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In the war on prostitution news, a federal court heard arguments recently challenging California's criminalization of prostitution in a case that could have implications for sex work laws across the nation. Brought by the Erotic Service Providers Legal Education and Research Project, SPLERP, the constitutional challenge claims that California's prostitution laws violate residents' rights to privacy, free speech, and free association. SPLERP President Maxine Dugan said, quote, "Our hope is to see this bad law struck down so that consenting adults who choose to be involved in prostitution are simply treated as private citizens again, and are afforded all the privacy and constitutional rights thereof," end quote. During oral arguments before Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals judges Thursday, SPLERP attorney Louis Sirkin stressed that the case, quote, "is not about sex trafficking, it's not about the abuse of women, and it's not about the abuse of minors. It is about consenting adults that voluntarily want to work in the sex-for-hire industry," end quote. Dozens of civil rights, public health, and LGBTQ groups have filed briefs in support of SPLERP's challenge, including the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern and Northern California, the California Women's Law Center, the anti-sex trafficking group Children of the Night, the First Amendment Lawyers Association, the National Center for Transgender Equality, the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, the Woodhull Freedom Foundation, and Lambda Legal. The Ninth Circuit judges seemed at least somewhat sympathetic to that view. Judge Consuelo Callahan asked the state's attorney, Sharon O'Grady, quote, "Why should it be illegal to sell something that you can give away for free?" She replied that it should be illegal because the legislature declared it so. And this, folks, is a rare moment of a man behind the curtain showing himself. This reply shows the reality of the situation. This shows that law is not about morality or about rights, that law is only the arbitrary whims of those who wish to declare their dictates of authority against those that they disagree with by force of the government with the backing of a gun. Plain and simple. It's rare to see a government thug be so candid in their response, but here it is. Judge Carlos Bea suggested that the state's arguments for why it could ban prostitution also would allow California to ban one-night stands. Judge Callahan argued that a ruling for the right to engage in prostitution seemed, quote, like a natural extension of Supreme Court precedent, end quote. Judge Bea suggested that the case might need to be remanded to the district court for another judicial review or even a trial in which the state would have to prove a compelling need for its prostitution ban. Now, isn't that interesting, that the government would have to prove that there's a compelling reason for making it illegal? Of course, there is no compelling reason to keep prostitution illegal, other than pushing it to the black market, making prostitutes and their customers much less safe, making criminals out of consenting adults, and to shove a false morality down the throats of people. Now, let's hope that this court finds true justice in this case and gives freedom as a result, but I won't be holding my breath. In a Catalan independence update, Spanish officials moved in to arrest the Catalan government's leadership last week. President Puigdemont and a number of members of the cabinet fled to Brussels, Belgium. Spain then issued an international arrest warrant for Puigdemont, and a Madrid High Court judge asked Belgium to arrest Puigdemont and 4 associates after they ignored a court order to return to Spain. Puigdemont and his associates turned themselves into Belgian police. They went before a judge in Belgium who was to decide their fate. Belgian officials told Mr. Puigdemont and 4 of his former ministers that they would be released as long as certain conditions were met. It was not immediately clear what terms are likely to be imposed. The charges faced by the exiled Catalan leaders, sedition, rebellion, misuse of public funds, and perjury, carries a maximum sentence of 30 years imprisonment on conviction. Mr. Puigdemont's Belgian lawyer, Paul Baccarat, has said that his client will appeal against extradition, which means that proceedings may drag past December 21st, the date that the Spanish government has called elections in the region. The Catalan nationals have strong support from Flemish political parties in Belgium. The fleeing of Mr. Puigdemont and his colleagues to Brussels has been preceded by the country's immigration minister, Theo Franken, saying that they would be able to seek asylum. The Belgian vice premier and interior minister stated that Madrid had overreacted, and all efforts must be made to ensure that Mr. Puigdemont and his colleagues get a fair trial if he's returned to Spain. Jan Jambon, who criticized the silence of the European Union on this issue, said, quote, I am just questioning how a European Union member state can go this far, and I am asking myself whether Europe is to have an opinion on this at all, end quote. I will, of course, keep you posted as I have been on news relating to this as details come out. It is awesome to finally see some country in the UE stand up for Catalonia. It's amazing to me that after the strong-armed, heavy-handedness of Spain during the elections, that EU countries don't denounce those acts. Good for Belgium for standing up to Spain so far. In contest news, I randomly drew the winners of my October contest and have emailed all of the contest winners. The 4 who won the signed copy of Liberty Force comic number 1 are T. Weaver 331, Peter MCKN, One Super Coach, and Anarcho Poet. The grand prize winner who won an exclusive The Lava Flow Contest Winners t-shirt, The Lava Flow tote bag, one of my favorite libertarian books signed by the author, and a signed copy of the Liberty Force comic number 1 is Socrates Wild. For the winners, if you haven't sent me your mailing address yet, please do so as soon as possible so I can get your stuff mailed out to you. You can send your mailing address to roger@thelavaflow.com. Thanks to everybody who entered the contest, and congratulations to the winners. In a Nurse Wubbles update, as expected, the taxpayers are the losers in this situation. University Hospital nurse Alex Wubbles has agreed to a $500,000 payment to settle a dispute over her arrest by a Salt Lake City police officer after she barred him from drawing blood from an unconscious patient, her attorney said Tuesday. Attorney Kara Porter said at a news conference that the agreement with Salt Lake City and the University of Utah covers all parties and takes the possibility of legal action completely off the table. There will be no lawsuit, she said. Wubbles will use a portion of the money to help people get body camera footage at no cost of incidents involving themselves, she said at the news conference. In addition, Porter's law firm, Christensen & Jensen, will provide for free any legal services necessary to obtain that video. Wubbles said she will also make a donation to the Utah Nurses Association and will help spearhead the #EndNurseAbuse campaign by the American Nurses Association. But let me ask you this. Where do you think this $500,000 is going to come from? Do you think Detective Payne and Lieutenant Tracy will be paying this fine? Of course not. This money will come directly from taxpayer funds. The taxpayer is on the hook for this money, period. And before you say it's going to hurt the bottom line of the police department, don't think that for a second. It's only going to be wrapped up in a budget item that will not hurt the police department budget at all. I guarantee it. This happens over and over again. So a court essentially fined Utah taxpayers for the crimes of 2 individuals. And what's even worse, Nurse Wubbles is a taxpayer in Utah, so some of her judgment will be coming out of her own pocket. Fuck these judges in the neck. Guys, you know Tom Woods. You know his books. You know his podcast. Now learn what he learned to get where he is today in Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom. Get the equivalent of a PhD in libertarian thought and free market economics online for just 24 cents a day while sitting at your computer or driving in your car. You can get it now at thelavaflow.com/woods. Listening to the audios and watching the videos will load you up with the facts, figures, and other ammunition that you need to feel supremely confident and come out on top when arguing politics or economics with yet another devoted socialist or neoconservative. But I repeat myself. Get a yearly membership to Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom for only $89 a year. Or like me, go for the Masterclass for lifetime access for only $497 and get tons of bonus material as well, including monthly live sessions with Liberty Classroom faculty and 435 audio-video lessons on government and history that Tom created specifically for the Ron Paul curriculum worth $250 alone. Make sure to sign up today at thelavaflow.com/woods to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before. In national security news, apparently a rogue employee of Twitter shut down President Trump's account on his last day on the job. The deactivation Thursday sparked deep and troubling questions about who has access to the president's personal account, @RealTrump, and the power that access holds. Twitter said through their official account Friday that it has put in additional safeguards in place to prevent similar incidents from happening in the future. The company has declined to share more details about its investigation into the incident. The company posted a statement saying that the president's account, quote, was inadvertently deactivated due to a human error by a Twitter employee. The account was down for 11 minutes and was since restored, the statement read. We're continuing to investigate and are taking steps to prevent this from happening again. But 2 hours later, the company admitted that the deactivation wasn't an accident at all. A preliminary investigation revealed that the account was taken offline, quote, by a Twitter customer service employee who did this on the employee's last day. Twitter said it was conducting a full internal review. Now, if it's not terrifying enough that Trump himself uses Twitter, to think that some random employee of Twitter has enough access to his account to apparently terminate it is just as fucking terrifying. Seriously, could this employee have sent a tweet saying something along the lines of, quote, hey China, I just pushed the button and fired our entire nuclear arsenal at your country? Could you imagine the security implications of shit like that? In It's About Your Safety news, a 53-year-old woman was arrested and charged with driving drunk while riding a horse down a busy Florida highway. And yes, you heard that shit right. Deputies from the Polk County Sheriff's Office responded to a call about a woman who appeared confused and possibly in danger, riding a horse on Comby Road Thursday afternoon, reported the Orlando Sentinel. Authorities arrived at the scene to find Donna Byrne riding the animal in the middle of the road. She had red, watery eyes and reeked of booze, according to Polk County Sheriff's Office spokesman Brian Brucey. A field sobriety test revealed that Byrne's BAC was a staggering .161, more than 2 times the legal limit. Along with a DUI, Burns was charged with animal neglect for failing to provide proper protective gear for the horse, placing it in jeopardy. Now what's next? A DUI for driving a tricycle or a radio flyer wagon? Come on. This is just ridiculous. There are many laws that she broke as far as having her horse in the middle of the fucking street. Tacking on a DUI to that is just asinine. As far as I'm concerned, and I know I'm in the minority on this one, operating a motor vehicle while drunk is a victimless crime. However, riding on a fucking horse while drunk is even more so a victimless crime. In free markets for the win news, Tesla has used its solar panels and batteries to restore reliable electricity at San Juan's Hospital del Niño, Children's Hospital, in what company founder Elon Musk calls, quote, the first of many solar battery Tesla projects going live in Puerto Rico. The project came about after Puerto Rico was hit by 2 devastating and powerful hurricanes in September, and Musk reached out about Tesla helping. Musk's company announced its success in getting the hospital power working again less than 3 weeks after Puerto Rico Governor Ricardo Rossello tweeted on October 6th, quote, great initial conversation with @Elon Musk tonight. Teams are now talking, exploring opportunities. The hospital's new system allows it to generate all the energy that it needs, according to El Nuevo Dia. As for who's paying for the power system, the head of the hospital tells Nuevo Dia that for now it's a donation, and that after the energy crisis is over, a deal could make it permanent. The news of restoring permanent power at the hospital comes as millions of people in Puerto Rico continue to rely on generators for electricity. As of Wednesday morning, the Electric Power Authority reported that its power service was at 25%. The task of rebuilding Puerto Rico's power grid is expected to take months and to cost as much as $5 billion. Now, Tesla isn't the only tech company trying to help Puerto Rico. Google's parent company, Alphabet, has deployed balloons from its Project Loon to the territory to help parts of the island reconnect after much of its phone system went down. The portable network can help phone users with both messaging and some web browsing. Now, these are perfect examples of the free market providing where the government cannot. The government is unable to provide what is needed, so people with financial incentives step in to do it. Imagine that. And finally, in some Lava Flow show news, we've created a Facebook group for Pax Libertas Productions for all of you to interact with all of us, the PLP podcast hosts. I'm in there, of course, as is Brian McQuaid from Resist the Empire and Scott McDonald and Adam Brown from ANCAP Barbershop. You can get to this group by searching for Pax Libertas Productions or by just going to thelavaflow.com/Facebook group, and that'll take you directly to it. Come on in and join the fun. We're looking forward to seeing you. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
ANCAP apps.
Two apps that have been featured in this segment in the past have had some significant updates that I want to let you know about. First, OpenBazaar, the free online marketplace with no platform fees and no restrictions, has just released their 2.0 version. OpenBazaar is a different way to do online commerce. It's a peer-to-peer application that doesn't require middlemen, which means no fees and no restrictions at all. OpenBazaar connects people directly via a peer-to-peer network. Data is distributed across the network instead of storing it in a central database. Version 2.0 is a completely new network, separated from the earlier versions of the OpenBazaar network. They learned a lot from the 1.0 version, and with this information, they've made the new OpenBazaar one of the most user-friendly, decentralized applications ever built. They've added lots of highly requested features as well. Because this new version is built on IPFS, OpenBazaar stores can now be accessible to buyers even when they're offline. Stores and listings can now be reseeded by other OpenBazaar users, meaning that if a store is seeded, then buyers can purchase their listings even if they are offline. Third-party search providers are now accessible from within the client. Search results are much faster and more accurate than they ever were before. You can now use Tor with OpenBazaar 2.0 for even more privacy. This new version of OpenBazaar includes lots of added features for vendors, including inventory management, expanded shipping options, variants, and more. The new OpenBazaar has a built-in SegWit-ready wallet in order to easily manage purchases and payments. It also allows for more complicated transactions to occur automatically, such as 1 of 2 multi-sig for offline ordering and time lock to prevent funds from being stuck in an abandoned escrow transaction. If you haven't used OpenBazaar to do shopping yet, then you're really missing out on a potential revolution in the way that business is done. You can get all the details and download the free app for Mac, Windows, and Linux at openbazaar.org. The other product with an update is one that I use almost daily. The Signal encrypted messaging app now has a full desktop app for Mac, Windows, and Linux. They previously had a Google Chrome app for the product, but they're now replacing that with the full desktop version. So if you previously had the Chrome version, you'll need to install this new desktop version. It's super easy to install, and it's going to allow you to comfortably chat on Signal using your full desktop or laptop keyboard. If you start a conversation on the desktop and need to move around, just pick up your phone and continue messaging from there. I've been using Signal since I first got to New Hampshire, and I've been using it to create a ton of noise for the NSA in the process of keeping my communications as secure as I possibly can. I highly encourage you to use it as well, not because you have something to hide, but because you actually give a shit about privacy. Edward Snowden himself said, quote, "Use anything by Open Whisper Systems," and Signal is by Open Whisper Systems. You can also use Signal for voice and video calls, so you could essentially replace the vast majority of your communications with this one app. Do what Snowden says and use Signal. You can get it at signal.org for your Android, iPhone, Mac, Windows, or Linux devices, and it's completely free.
Hello, friends. Scott McDonald here. Please listen to my show, The ANCAP Barbershop. We would like to be your source for libertarianism and anarchy. My co-host Adam and I discuss current events, politics, and philosophy. The ANCAP Barbershop is not your run-of-the-mill political podcast. We have a flair for the irreverent and an appreciation for all things irrelevant. If you would like to help us smash the state, please subscribe wherever you consume podcasts and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Have a good one, and we hope to see you at the shop.
Reading is fundamental.
I heard about this book, Chasing the Scream, The First and Last Days of the War on Drugs, when the author, Johan Hari, was on episode 86 of Felony Friday with John Odermatt as part of the Lions of Liberty podcast network. A few weeks later, it was on sale on Audible for $4.99, so I picked it up and listened to it. Hani opens his book talking about the first decades of the 20th century, about how easy it was to get opium, cocaine, and other drugs. The 1914 Harrison Act outlawed heroin and cocaine, but it granted doctors the right to prescribe these drugs as they saw fit, a loophole intended to help addicts quit slowly and safely. In the late 1920s, an employee of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics named Henry Anslinger, oh, and what a prick this guy is, he started warning of the unspeakable sexual depravity and lust for white women that drugs would unleash. He claimed that marijuana produced violent and permanent insanity in every user. With real skill, the author establishes the essential triad that defines any scenario involving the use, sale, and policing of illicit substances via portraits of three celebrated figures. Harry Anslinger, of course, the first commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, who essentially almost single-handedly started the drug war. The New York master criminal, Arnold Rothstein, whom Harry credits with the invention of the modern drug gang. And Billie Holiday, whose awful personal history of addiction to heroin and the racism that she dealt with is horrific to hear. These interrelated stories serve to show patterns of the drug war, though the text moves swiftly to the present day and flips through an array of other case studies. These interrelated stories serve to show patterns of the drug war, though the text does move swiftly to the present day and flips through an array of other case studies. But it's these three lives that show just how monotonously unchanging and therefore futile the essential rules of the war on drugs has always been. One of the most surprising of the many revelations in Harry's book is that substance addiction is not exclusively or even primarily a chemical phenomenon. He cites one study that found that heroin users continued to use a product they believed was heroin even when it contained absolutely no heroin. They felt only minor symptoms of withdrawal. Another study found that only around 17% of cigarette smokers were able to quit with the help of a nicotine patch. If addiction were entirely chemical, the rate should have been much higher. Something psychological makes it hard for addicts to abandon their lifestyle. Even a commonly cited study about rats and morphine turns out to be misleading. When isolated and given an unlimited supply, rats will consume staggering and often deadly doses of morphine and other drugs. The chemical theory of addiction would explain this behavior by saying the rats are in the grips of compulsive cravings that make it impossible for them to act otherwise. But once the rats were given a social and engaging environment with other rats, good food, and interesting games and activities, the amount of morphine they consumed dropped 5-fold. They suddenly had more interesting things to do than stay stoned off their ass. Harry debunks many myths and fallacies surrounding addiction and the drug wars, but this book is also an eloquent reminder of an easily forgotten truth, one that a doctor in 1938 used as the title of his own book, Drug Addicts Are Human Beings. Now for the bad. Sadly, the author has had issues in the past that could color the experience of this book. 3 years before the book's publication, Harry was discovered to have plagiarized other people's works, misrepresented the material he got from interviews, and, under an alias, to have spread malicious falsehoods about other journalists via Wikipedia. What this means is obvious enough, though it might be nice to set aside the events of 2011 and allow him a fresh start. I would definitely keep this in mind while reading the book, but the book still stands on its own. Even with the author's past, I think that this is an important book and one that you should definitely check out. I learned lots of new things about the drug war, and I thought that I had heard it all. There are some horribly sad stories in this book, but more importantly, there are some actionable things that can be done to help find a peaceful solution to the war on drugs. And make no mistake, you will walk away from this book knowing that it is truly a war. So make sure to pick up this book. You can get it from Amazon using my affiliate link at thelavaflow.com/scream, and I'll get a little taste of the sale without you having to pay any extra for it at all. Enjoy. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite voiceover artist, Jessica, for her help with this show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on the show, go to thelavaflow.com/74. I have no new supporters this week, but I am really, really close to hitting my next goal of $250 per episode for the show. And thanks to all of my awesome supporters, I am at, wait for it, $241 per episode, or 96.4% of the way towards my next goal of $250. Only $9 per episode away, guys. I can't believe it. When I hit this next goal, I'm going to be bringing you a full episode of The Lava Flow every single week instead of every other week. Now, I know you want more content from me, and I really want to give it to you. So add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the Lava Flow that you're getting already. And if you want more of the Lava Flow, exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. And I also have a new Apple Podcast review this week. Jazz Guitar 247 said, "Must subscribe if you question the government. No punches pulled, and the only bias is towards individual liberty. Thoughtful and composed information presented on current events is not just in line with the mass media. And he's better than Tom Woods. Russ." Wow, Russ. Better than Tom Woods? I'm not so sure about that, but man, I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. If you have a minute and you want to hear your review on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who's left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.